The heart monitor beeped steadily in the private suite. Twilight bled through tall windows, painting the city in shades of amber and shadow. James Garrison adjusted his tie, ready to leave for his charity gala, when Brooke burst through the door. Her eyes were wild. Not the calm, measured nurse who'd guided him through his cardiac scare last month. This was different, Mr. Garrison. Don't go tonight. Paused, one arm in his jacket. Brooke, what are you talking about? The gala is in 3 hours. I overheard someone. She closed the door behind her, glancing through the window into the hallway. In the waiting room, a man on his phone, talking about you? About your heart condition. Your schedule tonight? James felt his pulse quicken. People talk about me all the time, said the word removal. Her voice cracked. Like he was planning to remove you. Permanently. The room felt smaller suddenly. Colder. James had faced threats before. Jealous competitors, angry investors, but nothing that followed him into a hospital room. Did you see him? Brooke nodded, reaching into her scrub pocket. She pulled out a crumpled paper. He dropped this. It's part of tonight's guest list. Your name is circled in red ink with a question mark. James took the paper, his fingers trembling slightly. The circle around his name looked deliberate, methodical. This could be nothing, he said, but his voice lacked conviction. He ran when I approached him. Security tried to follow, but he disappeared into the parking lot. Brooke stepped closer, her face inches from his. James, please. Cancel it. He'd never heard her use his first name before. Always, Mr. Garrison, professional distance maintained. The intimacy of it struck him harder than the threat itself. God. Children's robotics programs across the state depend on tonight's donations. Hundreds of kids. And what about you? Her hand touched his arm, warm through his shirt sleeve. You're still recovering. Stress could trigger another episode. If someone wants to hurt you and you're in a crowded room, surrounded by people, your security can't protect you from everything. James studied her face. A year she'd been his nurse. A year of gentle encouragement during his darkest moments. When his body betrayed him and fear crept in at 3 a.m., he'd never noticed how her eyes caught the light, golden brown and fierce. Come with me then, he said. You can monitor my vitals. Watch for anything suspicious. James, that's not enough. It has to be. He grabbed his phone. I'll call Winston, my head of security. We'll triple-check everything. But I'm going. Brooke's jaw tightened. She pulled out her phone, scrolling to her messages. Then she turned the screen toward him. Unknown number. 6 words that made his blood run cold. Leave the party or face consequences. Still think it's nothing? She whispered. The phone slipped slightly in his grip. Outside, the city twinkled with oblivious life. Somewhere out there, someone wanted him gone. And the only person warning him was the woman standing so close, he could smell her lavender shampoo. We're both going, he said finally, and we're both staying alert. She nodded, but her eyes held something he couldn't quite read. Fear, yes, but something else. Something that made his chest tighten in a way that had nothing to do with his heart condition. As they left the suite together, James couldn't shake one thought in trying to save his life. Brooke had just stepped into the line of fire with him, and he had no idea if he could protect her from what was coming. Fairy lights transformed James's lakeside estate into something from a dream, or a nightmare, depending on perspective. Limousines rolled up the curved driveway, disgorging celebrities and billionaires in glittering gowns and sharp tuxedos. Jazz drifted through the air. Mingling with champagne laughter, Brooke stood beside James at the top of the marble staircase, wearing a simple black dress that made her look like she belonged. But her hand kept drifting to the medical kit hidden at her waist, and her eyes never stopped moving. Relax, James murmured. You look terrified. I am terrified. She didn't look at him. Every person walking through that door could be the one. Winston approached, his silver-streaked hair catching the chandelier light. All entry points secured. Local police are stationed outside. Staff have been vetted twice, and the guest list, James asked. Clean, no red flags. Winston's jaw tightened. But that doesn't mean someone didn't slip through. The party swelled around them. James shook hands, accepted congratulations, smiled until his face ached. But his attention kept drifting back to Brooke, the way she tracked movements through the crowd like a hawk hunting prey at 7:45. She stiffened beside him. There, her voice was barely audible. Near the robotics display, red tie. James followed her gaze. A man in an elegant suit stood alone, staring at the mechanical arm exhibit. Something about his posture felt wrong. Too still. Too focused. Before James could react, the man turned and locked eyes with Brooke. For one heartbeat, recognition flashed across his face. Then he disappeared into the service hallway. Winston, Brooke hissed. "Follow him." Winston melted into the crowd without a word. Brooke turned to James, her face pale. "Did you see that? He recognized me, you're sure?" "Positive." Her breathing quickened. "James, what if I let him here? What if he followed me from the hospital?" Before he could answer, his phone buzzed. Winston's text was brief. Lost him. "Checking perimeter, damn it." James pocketed his phone. "This was a mistake. We should evacuate. Too late for that. If there's a threat, leaving now could trigger it." Brooke's hand found his, squeezing hard. "Stay close to me, please." The contact sent electricity through his arm. In the chaos of the moment, with danger pressing close, he realized how much he'd come to depend on her. Not just as a nurse. As something more, a thunderous crash shattered the moment. The crowd screamed. Across the ballroom, the full-scale robotic exoskeleton display toppled, glass exploding outward in a glittering cascade. A woman shrieked, blood streaming down her arm where metal had sliced through silk and skin. Brooke ran without thinking, her medical training overriding everything else. James followed, his heart hammering against his ribs. They reached the woman together, Brooke already pressing gauze to the wound. "It's not deep," Brooke said, but her voice shook. "But James, look." She nodded toward the exoskeleton. It hadn't just fallen. The mounting bolts had been removed, deliberately, recently. "If that had tipped 3 feet to the left," James whispered, "it would have landed on the donor table, where I was supposed to be standing 10 minutes ago." Their eyes met. The same realization crashed over both of them. Someone knew his schedule, his exact positions, his movements. "We need to leave," Brooke said. Now, but as James turned toward the exit, Winston appeared, his face grim. In his hand was a phone, screen lit with a message. "Sir, you need to see this." James took the phone. The message was simple, chilling. "She's not who you think she is. Ask her about her brother. Ask her why she really became your nurse. The real threat isn't me, James. It's her." He looked up slowly, meeting Brooke's eyes. She'd gone white, frozen with the bloody gauze still in her hands. "James," she whispered, "let me explain." But the way she said it, the guilt threaded through every syllable, told him everything he needed to know. The woman he trusted most in the world had been lying to him from the very beginning. The private study felt like a cage. James locked the door behind them, cutting off the chaos of the evacuating gala. Through the window, red and blue lights pulsed as police secured the scene. But in here, the only sound was Brooke's ragged breathing. "Talk!" James's voice was granite. Now, she stood with her back to the bookshelf, arms wrapped around herself. The confident nurse was gone. In her place stood someone raw and terrified. "My brother," she started, then stopped. "Tried again?" "David, he worked for you." 3 years ago. James's mind raced through employee files, faces, names. Then it clicked. David Chen, head of security systems. He stole proprietary code and sold it to competitors. "I had him prosecuted. He didn't steal anything." Gruck's voice cracked. "He was framed. By someone in your inner circle who wanted him gone because he discovered they were embezzling. But you didn't care about the truth. You just wanted someone to blame." The accusation hung between them like smoke. "That was investigated," James said, but doubt crept in. Internal Affairs cleared it. Internal Affairs was run by the same person who framed him, Tears streaked down Brooke's face. David went to prison. Lost everything. His wife left him. Took their daughter. 6 months into his sentence, he tried to kill himself. He survived barely, but he's never been the same. James felt the floor shift beneath him. So you became my nurse to what? Get revenge? To get close to you? To find proof of what really happened? She took a shaking breath. But then you had your cardiac episode. And I saw you. Really saw you. Not the ruthless CEO everyone talks about. Just a man who was scared and alone and trying to do good in the world? Don't. James's hands clenched into fists. Don't try to make this about feelings. You lied to me for a year? Made me trust you. Made me, he stopped, the words too dangerous to finish. Made you what? She stepped forward, desperate. James, everything I felt became real. The warnings tonight, the threats, I'm trying to protect you. From who? Yourself? Your brother? David's not behind this. He can barely leave his apartment. He's broken, James. What you did to him broke him. The accusation was a knife between his ribs. James turned away, staring at the city lights beyond the glass. How many decisions had he made in the name of business? How many lives had he dismissed as acceptable losses? If you're not behind the threats, then who is? He asked quietly. I don't know. But someone sent me that text tonight. Someone who knows about David, who wants to drive us apart. Her voice grew urgent. James, think about it. The timing. The guest list with your name circled. Someone is using my history against both of us. He wanted to believe her. God, he wanted to. But trust, once shattered, left jagged edges that cut both ways. Winston's running background on everyone, James said. If you're telling the truth, we'll find out who's really behind this. And if you don't believe me... Her voice was barely a whisper. He finally turned to face her. In the dim study light, she looked younger, vulnerable. Everything he'd felt for her over the past months surged up, tangled with betrayal and confusion. Then you walk away and never come back. The words hit her like a physical blow. She nodded once, sharp and final. Fair enough. Before he could respond, the study door burst open. Winston stood there, tablet in hand, his expression darker than James had ever seen it. Sir, we have a problem. The man in the red tie from earlier, we identified him from security footage. Who is he? James demanded. Winston hesitated. Marcus Vale. Your former CFO. The one you fired 6 months ago for, ironically, suspected embezzlement. The pieces clicked together with terrible clarity. Marcus had been there the night of David Chen's arrest. Marcus had run internal affairs. Marcus had disappeared after his firing, swearing revenge. James looked at Brooke. You're saying Marcus framed your brother? And now he's coming for you, she finished. Using me as the scapegoat. Winston cleared his throat. There's more. We found explosives in the West Wing. Small charges, enough to cause panic and confusion. They're set to detonate in, he checked his watch, 7 minutes. The blood drained from James's face. The guests. Already evacuating. But sir, you need to leave now. Not without answers. James grabbed his phone, fingers flying across the screen. Marcus is still here. He has to be. He wants to watch. Brooke moved beside him, close enough that their shoulders touched. If you're looking for him, I'm coming with you. After everything, you'd still risk your life for me? She met his eyes, and in that moment, with destruction ticking down around them, he saw the truth. Complicated, messy, real. That's what you do for someone you love, she said, even if they'll never forgive you. The confession hung in the air for one heartbeat. Then James's phone buzzed with a new message from an unknown number. Rooftop. Come alone, or I'll detonate early. You have 5 minutes to decide who really matters. James, your pride or her life? Choose. The rooftop access door stood open, wind howling through the gap. Below, sirens wailed as guests scattered across the lawn like startled birds. Above, clouds raced across a moonbright sky. James climbed the final stairs, Brooke right behind him despite his protests. Winston and his team waited 2 floors down, ready to storm in at James's signal. But Marcus had been clear. Come alone, or people die. You shouldn't be here, James said without looking back. Too bad. Brooke's voice was steady now, resolved. We finished this together. They emerged onto the rooftop. Marcus Vale stood at the far edge, silhouetted against the city lights. He looked smaller than James remembered. Thinner, like something had hollowed him out from the inside. Right on time. Marcus held up a phone, his thumb hovering over the screen. Always so predictable, James. That's what made you easy to manipulate. The explosives are a bluff, James said, stopping 20 feet away. You had a year to hurt me. You didn't. This is about something else. Marcus laughed, sharp and bitter. You're half right. The charges are real, but small. Enough to scare, not to kill. I'm not a murderer, despite what you made me into. You embezzled millions. I borrowed against future earnings to cover my daughter's medical expenses. I was going to pay it back. Marcus's voice cracked. But you didn't ask questions. Didn't investigate. You just destroyed me. Destroyed my reputation. My family. The words echoed across the rooftop. James felt Brooke tense beside him. David Chen said the same thing, James said quietly. That I destroyed him without asking questions. Because you don't see people, James. You see assets and liabilities. Problems to be eliminated. Marcus's hand shook on the phone. So I decided to become your problem. Make you feel what I felt. Fear, paranoia, not knowing who to trust. And Brooke, James asked. You sent her those messages? Made me think she was the threat. She was convenient. A woman with motive, access, and a brother you crushed. Perfect scapegoat. Marcus's smile was acid. But then I watched you two tonight. The way you looked at her, protected her. And I realized something. You actually care about her. Maybe the great James Garrison has a heart after all. Let me help you, James said, taking a step forward. Whatever you need for your daughter, I'll cover it. Every penny. We'll sort out the embezzlement charges. Look at the evidence again. Too late. She died 3 months ago. Leukemia. Marcus's thumb hovered over the detonator. You know what the funny thing is? If you'd just asked me what was wrong back then, talked to me like a human being instead of a criminal, I would have told you everything. We could have worked it out. But you didn't ask? You never ask. The truth of it hit James like a freight train. How many people had he dismissed? How many lives had he altered with his ruthless efficiency and lack of curiosity about the humans behind the numbers? I'm sorry, James said, and meant it. I'm sorry about your daughter. About David Chen. About everyone I hurt because I was too arrogant to see past my own certainty. Marcus's eyes glistened. That's the first honest thing you've ever said to me, and let me make it right. Put the phone down. Let's talk. For a moment, Marcus wavered. His hand lowered slightly. Hope flickered. Then his expression hardened. Talking doesn't bring back the dead. Doesn't fix what's broken. No, Brooke said suddenly, stepping forward. But it stops the cycle. My brother almost died because of what James did. I spent a year hating him, planning to destroy him. But revenge doesn't heal anything, Marcus. It just spreads the pain. Easy for you to say. You fell in love with your enemy. Brooke glanced at James, something raw and vulnerable in her eyes. Maybe that's the point. Maybe the only way out of this darkness is to find light in the last place you'd look. Marcus stared at them, conflict playing across his face. Then his shoulders sagged. I'm tired. So tired of carrying this. He took his thumb off the detonator button, and for one perfect moment, James thought it was over. Then Marcus's phone buzzed. He looked down at the screen, and his face went white. No. What? James demanded. Someone else has access to the detonator. Someone just sent me a message. Marcus turned the phone so they could see. Thanks for the setup, Marcus. But I'll take it from here. You were always too soft. This is how you punish traitors. The words were signed with 2 initials, D.C. David Chen. Brooke's face drained of color. No, David wouldn't. He's not the man you remember, Marcus whispered. Prison changed him. broke something inside. He contacted me 6 months ago, wanted to help with the plan. I thought he just wanted justice. But this, he gestured at the phone. This is murder. James's mind raced. Where is he? Where would he be watching from? I don't know. He said he'd handled the technical side, kept himself separate in case things went wrong. Brooke grabbed James's arm. The hospital. He knows the layout there. If he's monitoring everything remotely, he'd need access to secure internet, privacy. James, your hospital room? James was already moving, pulling out his phone to call Winston. But before he could dial, a new message appeared on all three of their phones simultaneously. Detonation in 90 seconds. The only way to stop it is a manual override in the West Wing server room. But James, you're in a building with 200 guests still inside. You can save them, or you can save yourself by running. Clock's ticking. Choose. James looked at the rooftop door. The server room was 4 floors down, through hallways that might already be rigged to collapse. His heart, weakened and unpredictable, hammered against his ribs. Brooke grabbed his hand. James, you're not strong enough. The stress could kill you.
But
And if I don't go, the explosions could kill hundreds. Then I'm going with you.
I know.
He pulled his hand away, fixing her with a look that said everything words couldn't. Stay here. Keep Marcus calm. Guide the last evacuees out. This is my mess. Let me clean it up. You'll die. Maybe. He touched her face, gentle despite the urgency. But maybe I'm finally doing what I should have done years ago. Asking the right questions. Making the right choice. Tears streamed down her face. I can't lose you. Not when I just found you. You never lost me, Brooke. I was yours from the moment you burst into that hospital room and tried to save my life. He kissed her then, quick and desperate and real. Then he was gone, racing down the stairs toward an explosion he might not survive, leaving Brooke on the rooftop. Counting down seconds, praying for a miracle. James's lungs burned. Each step down the marble staircase sent jolts of pain through his chest. The heart monitor would be screaming if Brooke could see his vitals now. 60 seconds. Maybe less. He burst through the West Wing door. The server room glowed at the end of the hallway, emergency lights casting everything in red. His phone counted down. 47 seconds. Behind him, footsteps thundered. He turned, expecting Winston's team. It was Brooke. I told you to stay, he gasped. Since when do I listen? She grabbed his arm, steadying him. You're having an episode. I can see it. You won't make it alone. No time to argue. They ran together, the hallway stretching like something from a nightmare. James's vision blurred at the edges. His heart stuttered, missed a beat, caught again. 2 seconds. They crashed through the server room door. Banks of computers hummed, lights blinking in chaotic patterns. And there, standing among the cables and screens, was David Chen. He looked nothing like his employee photos. Gaunt. Haunted. A ghost wearing human skin. Hello, James. David's voice was soft, almost gentle. Surprised? David, please. Brooke stepped forward, hands raised. This isn't you. You're not a killer. You don't know what I am anymore. He held a tablet, the detonator app glowing. Prison teaches you things, sis. About who you really are when everything's stripped away. Then it taught you wrong. Tears streaked her face. The brother I know wouldn't hurt innocent people. The brother you knew died in a cell after swallowing pills, hoping not to wake up. David's fingers hovered over the screen. This version survived. And he understands something the old David didn't. The world only respects power. Fear, pain. 22 seconds. James stepped forward, drawing David's attention. You're right. I failed you. Failed to ask questions, to see past my own assumptions. But killing innocent people doesn't balance that scale. It just adds more weight. It's easy to say when you've never lost everything. I'm losing everything right now. James glanced at Brooke, then back to David. I found something worth dying for. Someone who saw past all my mistakes and chose to care anyway. You can take my life, David, detonate those charges. But you'll be taking hers too. Your sister. The only person who never gave up on you? David's hand trembled. Brooke, get out. I don't want to hurt you. Then don't do this. She moved closer, slowly, like approaching a wounded animal. I know you're in pain. I know you feel like the world broke you. But David, please. Let me help you. Let me bring you back. 14 seconds. There's nothing to bring back. That's not true. Brooke was crying openly now. You're still the brother who taught me to ride a bike. Who stayed up all night when Mom died, holding me while I cried. Who told me that no matter how dark things got, there was always a reason to keep going. You were my reason, David. You still are. David's face crumpled. The tablet shook in his hands. 9 seconds. I can't, he whispered. I can't live with what I've become. Then let's figure it out together. Brooke reached out, her hand inches from his. One day at a time. One choice at a time. Starting now, choose us. Choose life. 6 seconds, David looked at the tablet. At his sister? At James, who stood ready to die rather than run. 4 seconds. His finger moved toward the screen. 3 seconds, then stopped, with a sob that sounded torn from his soul. David pressed the cancel button. The countdown froze at 0:02. The charges, wired throughout the building, went silent. He dropped the tablet. It clattered across the floor. Brooke caught him as he collapsed, brother and sister sinking to the ground together. Holding each other like survivors of a shipwreck, James sagged against the wall, his heart hammering so hard he thought it might burst. Then Brooke was there, one arm around David, the other reaching for him. He took her hand, let her pull him down beside them. Police flooded in moments later. David didn't resist as they cuffed him. But before they led him away, he looked at James. I'm sorry, he said, for everything. Me too, James replied, and meant it. The investigation took weeks. Marcus Vale testified about his role, accepting a plea deal. David's lawyer argued diminished capacity, trauma, the cascade of failures that had driven him to the edge. The truth about the original embezzlement came out. Evidence emerged that cleared David of the theft charges. Though it couldn't erase the psychological damage, the new crimes he'd committed, James used his resources differently after that night. Hired independent investigators to review every employee termination from the past 5 years. Created mental health resources. Established an anonymous hotline for staff to report concerns. He couldn't fix the past, but he could change how he showed up in the future. And Brooke stayed, not as his nurse, as something infinitely more complicated. 3 months later, they sat on the same rooftop where it had almost ended. The city sparkled below them, oblivious to the drama that had unfolded in its shadows. David's doing better, Brooke said softly. The treatment facility you're paying for, it's helping. He's starting to remember who he was before everything broke. That's good. James's hand found hers, their fingers interlacing naturally now. And you? Are you okay? She considered the question. I don't know if okay is the right word. I'm grateful. Angry at the system that failed my brother. Sad for all the pain that could have been prevented. But also, she looked at him, weirdly hopeful. Is that crazy? If it is, we're crazy together. He pulled her closer, breathing in her lavender shampoo, the scent that had become synonymous with home. You know, I never did thank you for what? Lying to you for a year? For saving my life? Multiple times, in multiple ways. He kissed her forehead. For seeing something in me worth saving. You were always worth saving, James. You just needed to see it yourself. They sat in silence as the city breathed below them. Two broken people who'd found each other in the worst possible way, and somehow made it mean something. The road ahead wouldn't be easy. Trust took time to rebuild. Wounds took time to heal. David's recovery would be long and uncertain. The lawsuits and investigations would drag on for years. But sitting there, hand in hand, watching dawn break over a city full of second chances, James realized something fundamental had shifted. He'd spent his whole life believing strength meant never showing weakness. Never asking for help. never admitting mistakes. Brooke had taught him differently. Real strength was in vulnerability, in choosing connection over pride, in asking the hard questions and accepting difficult answers. "I love you," he said, the words still new and strange on his tongue. "Even though you lied? Even though this is complicated and messy and probably going to be hard?" "I love you too," she replied. "Even though you're stubborn and controlling and have terrible taste in ties?" He laughed, surprised by the sound after everything they'd survived. "We're really doing this? The billionaire and the nurse who tried to bring him down? Sounds like a terrible romance novel, or a second chance we don't deserve but got anyway." Brooke rested her head on his shoulder, fitting perfectly against him like she'd always belonged there. "So what happens now?" James looked out at the city, at the hospital in the distance where this had all begun, at the life spread before them, full of uncertainty and possibility. "Now," he said, "we ask the right questions, make better choices, and see where that takes us." It wasn't a perfect ending, but it was real, honest, earned through fire and fear, and the kind of transformation that only comes when you're forced to face the worst parts of yourself. And somehow, despite everything that made it beautiful, the sun rose higher, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold. A new day, a new beginning. Not for a perfect man and a flawless woman, but for two complicated, scarred, beautifully human people who'd chosen each other anyway. In the end, maybe that was the only kind of love that mattered. The kind worth fighting for. The kind worth surviving for. The kind that saved you even as you saved it. The end.